Howdy y'all, Boone Hardaway here. Imagine a world devoid of color. Just completely black, white, and a lot of gray. Sounds beautiful. Wait, it doesn't? Well, it would be perfect, wouldn't it? I mean, black, white, and gray tend to go together everywhere. It would take a lot to make it not go together. And in our world full of color, there's so many things that don't go together. So, why would something so bland and boring and so close to perfection, why would that be worse than what we have right now? There's a book that I've read, and it's from my second favorite book series of all time. There's a movie based off of it, and a lot of children have had to read it for school. It's called The Giver. It's an absolutely amazing book, and it takes place in a world devoid of color. And I'm going to leave a lot of spoilers out. I mean, it's a fairly old book, so, you know, most people have had a chance to read it, but you might have not heard of it, and you want to. By the end, there's really only one person left in that world who can see the color. And he sees everything wrong with this utopia. For a place that seems so perfect, there's so much wrong with it. I think we live in the best possible world we live in. Now I say that and you think, are you insane? Do you look around and see everything that's wrong with the world? And I do. It's a depressing place. I mean, I look around, I see so much conflict, so much hate and anger, so much pain. You know what else I see? So much joy, so much happiness. There's so much good. And I bet if you got rid of all the problems, we'd be getting rid of a lot of the good too. That sounds insane. Getting rid of the bad makes the good worse? Yeah, I believe that. So the thing is, in a perfect world, it's not perfect. There's no satisfaction when you complete a task because there never was a challenge. We always complain and say that God didn't create a perfect world for us. We always complain about all the evil and hatred in the world. And I think that aside from before the fall from grace, more like the first sin, before that, yeah, that was perfect, and I think that we couldn't really do better than that. But now I think we're at the best we can get. All the hardships in the world, I mean, you don't win without having a chance of losing. If you're not sad or mad, how will you know when you're happy? When you finally get through a hardship, you wouldn't care if it weren't for the hardship. You wouldn't feel the success or the joy of getting through a hardship. There's a lot of pain in the world, but I think God intended it to be like this. I'm not saying that God wants there to be evil in the world. I'm not saying that God enjoys all the problems. But a lot of bad things happen to good people, and while I don't think that that's all, I don't think it's fair to blame that on God. I'd say a large part of that is Satan. It's also just very much, I think it's God's plan. That's a very stereotypical thing to say when things are bad. You know, God's plan. Oh, well, yeah, God's plan must have a lot of pain in it. It might. But I think God's plan is also perfect. And it's beautiful. Because if it weren't for the level of problems, we wouldn't have the level of happiness we have. I saw a story one time, and it was about this guy, and he was depressed because the world we live in is horrible. And when he woke up the next morning, the world was perfect. No angry cashiers, no wars, no famines, no sadness or anger, none of it. By the end of the year, he was depressed again because he lived a worthless year. What's the worth of perfection? if there's nothing to go against it. The most important thing that we can fight is the problem. But there's no point in a solution if there's no problem. I mean, why would I give you a math paper that's exclusively solutions? There's no challenge there. You could literally put 1 plus whatever for all the answers, or all the questions. Because the solution may be the satisfying part, the important part. But it's not what matters. If it weren't for the problem, then the solution would have no merit. Do we live in a perfect world? No. And yes. I think God made this the most perfect world that we could handle. Thanks.